Hi everyone, welcome back to Sunnyhill Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Sarah and I'm going to bring you along on our June garden tour. With the way things are growing, I might actually have to film another tour towards the end of June because things are changing so quickly. We had a super challenging spring this year. The cold-loving crops absolutely loved it, but we passed our last expected frost date and still ended up with 2 nights of frost. So it was up until the last week of May, like right at the very end, that we ended up with our final frost. So we did have some losses. We lost some cucumber plants, we lost some melon plants, but as you can see behind me, so much of the garden is thriving still. A lot of our tomatoes were already planted before those last 2 frosts came and they handled it no problem. So I can't wait to take you along the gardens today and show you how everything's growing. Coffee in hand, let me show you this garden. Now, if you follow us on social media, our Instagram is where we tend to post our day-to-day and just snippets in our stories. So if you're not following us there, definitely do so. But you will see that we built these new tomato trellises. And that's because tomatoes were the first thing to come off our pantry shelves. We preserve a ton of them, we freeze them, but we also can them. And tomato sauce was the first thing we ran out of. So as a 6-person family, it can run dry pretty quickly. So I had goals to up our tomato game this year even more, and we have over 120 tomato plants growing. I cannot wait to see the harvest that we will be inundated with. I will be busy canning. We will all be busy helping to preserve and to pick and to harvest, but oh my gosh, the joy that comes from that. The boys absolutely love just coming in the garden and helping us pick the food. It is amazing. So many lessons come from that for our kids. Starting a garden for kids, it's just, I can't stress it enough. So we have tons of indeterminate tomatoes. If you see them strung up like this, these are all indeterminate varieties. We do also have some determinate varieties that are just staked because they tend to only get to about 3 to 4 feet tall. These ones, if Mother Nature is great to us this year and we don't get hit by late blight, tends to come when the weather is super, super wet and humid, then these have the ability to get all the way to the top. So cross our fingers that they will hold on and not get affected by late blight until long into the season. We have some beautiful flowering broadleaf sage here, and then our kale from last year is flowering as well. And I love the contrast between the purple flowers of the sage, the yellow flowers of the kale, and then I also have some marigolds lining our pathway. Isn't the sage just gorgeous? Oh, the bees love it. Here you will see some garden mesh put up. This is because we're trying cabbages direct sown from seed. Oh, there's a massive bumblebee. Look at him. Oh, and a honeybee. My gosh, I love it. So yes, I direct seeded these cabbages and I want to see if they will still head up. It would just save me another crop from starting indoors. If I had the space where I didn't need to already have harvested those cabbages in order to put something in. We strive for succession planting, but I just wanted to see, because if it can save starting cabbages indoors for a lot of people who don't have seed starting space, for instance, it'd be super helpful. This mesh came from the dollar store, super inexpensive, very resilient, has helped keep all the cabbage moths off, and it's covered our carrots as well, which I'll show you, which has helped to keep the squirrels out, which has been great. I did have some seedlings, some cabbage seedlings on this side, but unfortunately an ant colony decided to build its home underneath them and ate all the roots, disturbed them, and they died. So the ants have seemed to calm down. I didn't do anything. I just gave them time to do their thing. And I just recently sowed some patty pan squash seeds here. So we'll see how that goes into our first field of tomatoes. So for perspective, I am 5'1", so I am not super tall whatsoever. And you can see a lot of these tomatoes are already nearing my thigh, which is amazing. They're all different varieties. Again, the ones with the strings are indeterminate, so they have a chance of growing right up, which is the hope this year. And I do usually single stem these. So single stemming just allows me to fit in more tomatoes in a smaller space. We like to try a lot of different varieties of tomatoes. So when you don't have a lot of space, it helps for that. This year though, because of how we built this trellis, I'm actually going to double stem them, or double leader is another way you'll hear it called. I will be making a reel about that just to show you a little more up close of how that's done. So in each of these beds, I believe we have 16 tomato plants. So that's gonna bring us a lot of tomatoes, guys. I also have a bunch of borage in front. It all self-seeded, which I love about it. The flowers also taste like cucumbers. The pollinators love the flowers of borage. So if you have an area where you just want it to kind of self-seed, but also enjoy a little bit of a harvest, borage is amazing for your garden. Just be aware you might have to thin it out from time to time because it does like to spread around. This is our other section of tomatoes, as you can tell. So two rows of indeterminate. The ones behind me are all cherry tomatoes. Wanted them close to the house because the kids love snacking on them. They can just run down, grab some tomatoes and head back in. So great. The lower ones here that you can see, those again are determinate. They are more Roma style tomatoes. So we're gonna be making a ton of sauce from those ones. Below that, there is what appears like an empty bed. We do have seeds sown in there for the kids want to try watermelons. I don't think we have enough time, but we will see. I mean, it's trial and error, especially when it comes to kids in the garden. They just want to try stuff. They just want to experiment. And that is the best way for them to learn. So they stuck some seeds of those in. I believe they also put squash seeds in and another melon. We'll see what pops up. In front of these tomatoes, you will see a ton of self-seeded calendula. We use that for a lot of natural oils that we put on our skin. We just take our favorite oil, usually olive oil, or hemp seed oil. I love using hemp oil on my skin. And I soak calendula flowers that have been dried in that, and I just apply it, and it is amazing, absolutely amazing. So again, just like borage though, if you're gonna be planting calendula, it will self-seed very easily. So make sure to put it in an area that you don't mind either thinning out from time to time or just letting it go, right? Letting it go to Mother Nature, letting it go wild, so to speak, and let it plant itself. I pride myself in real life here. I will not hide anything. So obviously there's some clutter in the back that still needs to be put in the greenhouse. It'll get there eventually. It's not a biggie. I was just transplanting some plants yesterday, which I'll show you in a moment. On our trellis is our hardy kiwi. If you remember last year, it was down to here. It was so small. And now we have these massive vines growing. We just purchased this last year and it's already blossoming. So we are going to have, hopefully, some hardy kiwis this year. If you've never had them, they are little mini kiwis. They are not fuzzy. They're more like a grape and you can just eat them. Oh, they are divine. I am obsessed. Apparently, once this is well established, it will cover this entire trellis with ease. For a very large hardy kiwi plant, you can end up with like hundreds of pounds of kiwis. Now, I mean, that kiwi vine has to be huge, but I am so eager to see how many kiwis we end up growing on this because it's going to be immense. I can see it already, like it's just taking off. So fun. As for the seedlings I was tackling yesterday, so I transplanted our fig tree that we got last year. It's a wonky looking tree, but it is putting on new growth. I don't enjoy figs, but I do enjoy buying things that my husband enjoys. Actually, I shouldn't say that. My in-laws had a fig tree for a while and I tried their fresh figs and they're just not for me. I am not a fig lover and that's okay. I love adding in perennial plants. This will come inside in the winter time, just like it did last season. And hopefully we can get some figs for my dear husband who loves them. I think the kids have tried them too from my in-laws and they weren't big fans either, but we'll see when we grow it ourselves if they pick it off and they just end up liking it, right? Because they picked it themselves, they helped grow it. We'll see how it goes. In front here, we have a bunch of the seeds that we started indoors over the winter for trees. So the tall ones here are pears. The ones in the front that definitely got a little bit of, some sunburn and some windburn when the focus wasn't on them. The focus was on all our other seedlings. Those are cherry trees. And all the ones in between are quince. So we actually had quince delivered in one of our produce boxes, and there was plenty of seeds. And I'm like, hey, let's try and grow it. Apparently they're self-pollinating. They grow into immense bushes, almost like a lilac tree style. And I was so impressed with quince fruit. So if you've never had it, it's shaped like a giant pear almost. If you eat it fresh, it's very astringent. So you do not want to eat it fresh, okay? If that's how you've tried it before and you think you don't like quince, it's probably not why. You don't want to eat them fresh. You want to cook them down in a light syrup, and then they turn into this like floral pear tasting fruit. Oh my gosh. And they're pink. They're so much fun. When you cook them, they end up turning pink. The kids loved them. We canned up a bunch. They're already eaten from what we got in our produce box. So I'm hopeful to find a spot to plant these guys and see how they do. They are hardy to our winter, so once they're acclimated to outside, I should be able to plant them. It's just finding a spot, because I obviously grew a ton. I know plenty of these I'll be gifting away. The problem when you're starting like pears, plums, peaches, cherries, that sort of thing, they're not grafted onto a dwarf rootstock. So if you've ever stumbled upon an apple tree like in the forest and they're absolutely huge, that's what these would end up doing. Now there are things you can do. You can cut back the rootstock every couple of years. You can top it and just deal with the side shoots to help maintain its growth. But I really have to ponder where I'm going to put these pears and cherries. I wanted to plant them and start them because, one, it's fun for the kids to do over the winter. Two, it's free food. So if I can find a spot that would work, we would then end up with more food from our own fruit trees that are already planted because of cross-pollination. So we'll see. Maybe I'll talk to some neighbors. All right, guys, I finally finished my coffee. Let's head down to the next section of garden. All right, first stop, lettuce beds. Now you can see this one. This is how they all looked. And we're harvesting a ton. So we have actually got to the point that we are so sick of salads, which is such a beautiful problem to have, right? Like too much lettuce, too much of anything. Oh, the problem of abundance, but when it's homegrown food, it's never a problem. So a ton of this I have been gifting away. If you're local to us, please join our crop swap group on Facebook. I'll include the link below. We've been giving away produce, just organic, fresh produce. If you guys want a salad tonight, hit me up because I need to plant more stuff in here now that this is done. And we already have other lettuce planted in our garden for the next succession. In this one, which is really fun, we grew potatoes last year. Well, oftentimes when you grow potatoes, you always end up missing a couple, and that's exactly what happened. We have a potato that sprung up. Now, I have seed potatoes downstairs that I did sprout. I wasn't planning on planting them though. Again, I was just gonna give them away. But once this guy made his appearance, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick some more potatoes in. So that's what we'll do. We've got some onions sitting in front. And as I continue down here, I did have, even while the lettuce was in place, I did put some squash plants. So we have some zucchinis in this bed and in this one. And that's the nice thing, is when you can interplant like that, and that way when one crop is done, the other one is already growing, it makes such a difference on how much you can grow in a small space. And it's getting so hot. I was so hopeful to get this filmed before the heat of the day hit. We're hitting 29 degrees Celsius today at the start of June, yet we had late frost. It just makes no sense. The weather is so all over the place. So if you're having challenges in your garden, don't take it personal. Like, don't think, oh, I can't grow anything. I can't grow anything. Every single year, even after 10 years, I am still thrown for a loop. Yes, I know how to keep these plants alive. And that's part of the learning when those weather shifts come, and learning what to do in order to protect your crops. That I can help you with. So if you have any questions, just shoot me a message. In front of me, speaking of weather hazards, are all our peppers. So these were planted in before those last couple of frosts came. We did put frost blanket over top of them for those nights, and they survived, okay? Did they lose some leaves? Absolutely. Did some of them just become stems? Yep. but they didn't die. And I will show you, I'll bring you in here closer to show you that the ones that were just stems, they're now starting to shoot off side shoots, and we will get a harvest from them. So I'm not concerned. More indeterminate tomatoes behind me. One of the fails was I did sow some sweet pea seeds here super early in the season. Like the minute I could put them in the ground, because they really love the cold, and they just didn't sprout. So I'll have to get some fresh seed. It was some pretty old seed. So we'll get some fresh ones for next year and hopefully get some sweet pea blossoms up the side of the garden. In front here, I have our clementine trees. Those again were started from seed from the grocery store. They're growing beautifully. The leaves smell amazing, but they haven't fruited yet. I'm trying to now expose them to chill hours, because a lot of fruit trees and fruiting varieties, even like blueberries, they require X number of hours, depending on the variety, in order to trigger blossom and then eventually fruit set. Because without blossoms, you're not getting fruit. So I'm going to keep this out later in the season. Citrus can handle 5 degrees Celsius, I believe it is, if not -5. I'll have to look at that. I'll put it on the screen. They're really hardy, but they're not hardy enough to obviously be planted outside in the ground and survive our winters. So they do live indoors in our winter months. They get plenty of light. We have all our grow lights. We keep them fed, so that's why they're doing so great. They do have a little bit of sunburn on some leaves as they adjusted to outside again. And just busy life. I could have avoided that, but I didn't. And they're doing just fine. So I'm on a mission to get them starting to blossom. This larger one, actually both of them are the same age. They're at least 5 years old now. I did also read that sometimes when started from seed, it can take 5 to 7 years to blossom, and sometimes they won't blossom at all, which is interesting to me because the genetics of that tree obviously wants to reproduce. But we will see. If you guys have any tips on how to trigger blossoming in a seed-started citrus tree, let me know. It'd be great to learn. There's kids' toys everywhere. Not quite, actually. We don't have that many. They play outside and use their imagination a ton. But, balls, soccer balls, basketballs in the garden, it just stresses me out. Because I know there's going to be one that ends up getting kicked and then some plant is damaged. But that is the key when gardening with kids, or even like little dogs that can jump and get into your gardens. Critters, plant extra. Always. If you have a problem with squirrels, if you have groundhogs, plant extra. It'll act as your insurance to make sure that you're ending up with a harvest coming in. These were normally, like, by this time of year, we would be inundated with blossoms. These were even started ahead of time indoors, but they had I don't know, they're just going slower this year, but it's okay. We do have some blossoms on, and they're obviously gaining in height. The biggest pest we've had so far are the cardinals. The cardinals have actually been sitting on here, which is gorgeous. They're so beautiful, but they're eating the tops of the plants. They're eating the leaves. Pea greens are delicious, so I don't blame them, but I'm hoping they don't start actually stealing my peas when they're on there. We will see. These larger ones here that you see, they're the mammoth snow pea. They get the size of my hand, and they are absolutely delicious. We do have a loofah. My loofahs were such a challenge this year. Our side door broke, so it was making our basement much more drafty and cold than usual. And that's where I start all my seeds and all my seedlings, and the loofahs just hated it. They did not start to grow until the warmer temps came outside and warmed up my basement. So next year, we have to get that side door fixed, but if not, live and learn. We got to keep it warmer or grow the loofahs elsewhere in our home. We had 2 that were basically on death's door. I did plant them in just in case. Normally they would be so tall by now. They seem to be hanging on. So my hope is I will still get some trellis coverage. I love their beautiful yellow flowers. The pollinators love their flowers. And it just, when this fills in, it gives such secret garden vibes that I'm hoping they will at least kick off and start covering it. We'll see in upcoming tours if that happens. Down to the final section of our yard, our service berries. So again, this was gifted to us. We do have a couple service berries this year that I'm going to bag, so the birdies don't necessarily get to those. The kids want to try them, but we are definitely gaining in height. In front, I took some of our calendula volunteers from up top, and I've had them all along the front. And then I have some zinnia seeds that we started indoors, and they're already starting to flower. Now, if you ever do that, if you ever transplant zinnias, you'll find that the first ones that open up on them are not those beautiful, robust, round, multi-petaled zinnias. Don't panic, they will come. It's just the first bloom. For whatever reason, I find the first or second bloom, they end up more of like a single style flower, kind of until they get their feet in there and just start really growing. So don't worry. This will bring us immense color and lots of cut flowers, and just, I wanted to put it next to the kids' mud kitchen because it just gives so much life. The bees, the butterflies, they all love the zinnias. So they'll be able to play right next to them and see that. There's a couple sunflowers tucked in behind those as well. A couple of them did get eaten by a bunny. It happens. It absolutely happens here. And they were already massive seedlings. I guess the bunny was hungry. It's okay, I'll share. Okay, guys, our pollinator corner, so to speak, perennial corner, I don't know, wild corner. Our asparagus, it is burning out, as you can see. I would have got a chance to harvest so much more, but we went away for the long weekend for a tournament for our boys. And when I came back, the asparagus was up to here already. So I just allowed it to fern out. So it'll be very productive next year. It'll appreciate all that energy going to its roots. Our pawpaw tree, it is so strange this year, and I will bring you in closer. We have side growth coming off the main stem that is, shooting out leaves, looking gorgeous. But the rest of the height that we got, and it's taller than me now, is not showing any signs of leafing out. So if you have any thoughts on that, let me know. We only have one, but there are a couple people in our area that are also growing pawpaws, and they're already putting out PSAs looking for pollen because you need to cross-pollinate in order to set fruit. So we will be able to trade pollen and get some fruit if we can figure out what's going on with the tree. It's very weird. It's not dead, but it's only putting leaf growth on certain points of it. I will show you. My mother-in-law gifted me a Gerber daisy for Mother's Day, so we popped that in the ground just for some color next to our Egyptian walking onions, which are bulbing, and I will be sure to collect some bulbs for all of you guys as part of our seed library. Sweet Alexander, I believe it's called. It was gifted to us, and the pollinators love it too. You can see our cherry tree this year. We have the most cherries coming to us ever that we have ever had. So this tree is now 7 years old. I was like, no, we are not losing the cherries this year to all the squirrels. The squirrels love to run up the fence line and just jump on the tree and eat all the harvest. Not happening this year. So we got this fruit tree netting. It's actually really strong material. I will be honest, total pain in the butt to wrap a tree this size. So I did a pruning early in the season. Normally you don't for cherries. Normally you wait until after they're done fruiting for cherries, but I had to in order to get this cover on. And then we're gonna do another one. After it's done fruiting, we're gonna do another pruning. The reason why it got so immense is because, and I've mentioned this many a times, we've had a windstorm that came through. It knocked off the back side of the tree, massive, massive branch, huge amount of the tree gone. So I just left it. I was like, no, this tree needs to heal. It has been traumatized way too much. I absolutely cannot prune it. So for over a year, it wasn't pruned, and it decided after that windstorm that it was like, I need to grow now, and I need to grow immensely, and that's exactly what it did. So we will take this down to a more manageable height for next year, and that way putting the netting on won't be so challenging. The easiest thing we found was putting, like me and my husband, we had 2 long poles. I just used like a bamboo pole for staking up plants. And he had one, he got up on a ladder, kind of lined it up, and then we would use these poles to kind of adjust it around the tree until we could get it down. Don't know if that'll help you, but thought I'd throw it out there. It seemed to really help us because to reach, oh my gosh, it's way too big. Another real life, situation. So we do have some sunflowers. Sunchokes are related to sunflowers. That's why I actually have to come up here close and see which is which now that they're all getting big. Do you remember how we actually we removed the garden bed that was here? We dug out majority of the soil that was there in order to get the garden bed out. We harvested over 60 pounds of sunchokes, many of which, hence the real life comment, are still in that wheelbarrow and are now sprouting. I have another use I will put to them though, because that's just I have so many, because as you can see, they will grow from the smallest little remnant that you leave in the ground. So that is why if you are going to grow sunchokes, they need to be contained, for one, unless you have, an immense rural property that you don't mind them kind of taking over. They need to be contained because you will always have them. We joke that there are apocalypse food because there's no killing these things. There's no getting rid of them. These all just came back. I didn't plant one of them. And we cleared out that soil like there's no tomorrow. We gifted away a bunch. Also, someone through our dojo, shout out to C-Mom, she taught me in their culture that they pickle them quite often. They use them with curry spices. I've asked for the recipe because that sounds absolutely amazing. We always just cook them like potatoes, so we'll roast them. We have fermented them in the past. It wasn't my favorite way to enjoy sunchokes. I'm just being perfectly honest. Some people enjoy them that way. It wasn't for us. So we just treat them like potatoes. We'll eat them raw, and yes, we will eat raw potato. I grew up kind of just dipping it in salt and eating it. Is that weird? I don't know. White potatoes, not sweet potatoes. They're too firm. Or we will roast them, smash them, fry them up like French fries, that sort of thing. I've even dehydrated them and turned them into flour and put it in our sourdough bread. Very strong flavor. I wouldn't put as much next time because it kind of took from the bread flavor, but I don't know. I love finding different uses for this amazing plant because 60 pounds of it every year, come on. You got to know what you're doing with it, right? And have those favorites. Let me talk about the real life thing in my plan for these sunchokes. So they are so rude. I can't even get them. Look, even the stem is rooting. They are so, I can just pick up this. Oh my gosh. Look at that. What? And there's Legos under there. Gotta love my boys. The other thing I've been studying is more of other styles of farming from around the world. I really like the Korean one, and it is referred to as Jadam, J-A-D-A-M. I can't remember what the acronym stands for right now. Sorry, guys. Sunchokes, if you've ever grown them, otherwise known as Jerusalem artichokes, don't have much pest pressure at all. And their theory is if you take plants that don't have much pest pressure because they naturally repel them. So Jerusalem artichokes, garlic, onions, things of that nature, right? Like the super pungent stuff that don't tend to be affected by bugs. If you take that and you infuse it in water, the benefits and that pest, repellent action will go into the water. And then if you combine it with a little bit of Castile soap, water, and spray it on plants that are affected by pests, it will get rid of them. So that's my plan with these. You can use the roots, you can use the greens, and essentially you boil it down, let it cool. So all of this will be released into the water, and then you mix it with a little bit of soap and spray your plants. And you would only spray them when the sun is not out, preferably at nighttime, so there's not a heavy pollinator, population flying around at night. There are still some. Don't be fooled by that, where people say, oh, you can spray pesticide, but do it at nighttime. Well, no, there's still nighttime pollinators, lots of them. Okay, but maybe our bees aren't flying around, but other pollinators are. Try to go a more natural route, something like this, okay? So I will try it. I have not tried it. I don't get many pests. If we do, we try to cover them up with like mesh, so we don't have to spray anything. But I just want to see, I don't know, it's just nice to have these little tips and tricks, if they work, available and accessible. Because when you have sunchokes, again, you're not getting rid of them. And I could easily just take some leaves off here and boil it down if I didn't have all of this growing in my wheelbarrow. Should we leave it? Should we totally leave it and just see how big these get? That would be hilarious too. This root structure is insane. Like, that's just insane. Oh my gosh. You can't kill these things. Alrighty, so this is our dwarf pear tree. It will not blossom this year. It didn't. It would have already. It didn't because it was just planted last year. So we've got some time with this guy. We added in a grape. This is called Cannabis grape. Apparently it makes for a yummy table grape. And the plan is to train it up and along our chain link fence. So we'll see how that goes. I love the idea of free table grapes because grapes are so good, but they're so crazy expensive in the grocery store. It's ridiculous how expensive grapes can be. A gooseberry that was gifted to us. And speaking of gifts, these lovely bushes beside me are hascap berries. I've had them before. My mother-in-law grew them for years. The boys loved them. They're like a sour blueberry-ish. Quite sour. So my plan is to dehydrate them. I want to see almost similar to like goji berry, if you can make more of that sweetness come out, and then you still get the benefits and the health benefits because they're crazy healthy for you, but without so much of that sourness. These were gifted to us from dear friends. They have even more children than we do. Double, actually. And we gifted them our climbing dome back here because the boys just ended up wanting to use their ninja line. They didn't want to play with the climbing dome anymore. And being that our yard is only 35 feet wide, so when you're watching these videos, the yard itself is only 35 feet wide, okay? It is long, but it's wide. I think in length from our deck, it's 75 feet. So we do have a long yard, but it's not super wide by any means. A climbing dome took up a lot of space. So we gifted it to them. And then I didn't expect anything in return. I just wanted the kids to have fun. And I was so glad it went to a friend's home. And I knew the kids would love it, that they gifted us hascap berries. And they are 2 different varieties, which will help with pollination so we get more fruit set. So I can't wait for that. Thank you guys. All right, guys. That's the garden tour for the beginning of June. I am just blown away with how much everything has caught up so quickly. That is the nice thing. If you can get things planted before the summer solstice, so in July, when our daylight hours start to drop back again, oh my gosh, they can catch up so quickly. If you have any questions, as always, just let me know. Shoot me a message. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. I'm going to be uploading this on a couple platforms, so if you're not on those following us, definitely find us, check us out, the Sunnyhill Homestead, and it'd be so great to meet you there. As always, happy growing!